On this edition of Motorcycle Experience, we continue to pursue our cafe dreams while transforming a motorcycle into a rolling canvas. Then, in the land of General Custer, we thread the needle before dusting off our trusty steed for another summer riding season, while pulling out the map in preparation for hitting the road. As Motovan presents Motorcycle Experience. Hello and welcome to Motorcycle Experience, the voice of motorcyclists everywhere. I'm Dave Hatch, and this week we're coming to you from Brooklyn Cycle Racing in Pickering, Ontario. As for our feature this week, let's kick things off with Honda's all-new 500cc all-rounder, the CB500X. This adventurous 500cc road eater rounds out Honda's mid-range lineup, now sharing the road with the sporty R model and the naked standard, the F. Like its stablemates, the X sports the same liquid-cooled 471cc fuel-injected parallel twin, mated to a slick 6-speed tranny and chain final drive. Under the fairing is the same diamond-shaped frame, 17-inch wheels, and ABS-assisted brakes. However, the X has more ground clearance, a slightly larger fuel tank, a longer wheelbase, and more relaxed steering geometry. There's also the X-branded bodywork that drives home the sit-up riding position and ready for adventure styling. Very nice. Sampling the CB500X for us this week is longtime viewer Tamara Mooring. Brand new, beautiful new motorcycle from Honda Canada. What did you think?
I really enjoyed this one as well. The twins do well for me, I have to say. This one is a lot lighter than I thought it would be. When I picked it up, I thought, okay, looking at standard bike, and I could actually maneuver it very easily.
Yeah.
The riding position is very straight up, so I was actually taken off guard with the being straight up back. Your lower back is straight, your feet are planted directly under your hips. So probably great for long rides. I would see that being very comfortable seat.
Well, let's start with the bike's heart and soul. What did you think of this engine? I mean, the one impression I had was it's not buzzy, it's really smooth.
It is very smooth. Once you get going, first, second, third, you've got enough torque to take you up, and then it's smooth sailing right up and through the last gears.
Right.
And you stay at constant speed.
And around town, it's not notchy or glitchy or...
I didn't find it all.
Yeah.
I found that if you're going, she's comfortable. The low gears are strong, and they keep you going smooth.
And then I guess, clearly Honda is looking to get people that are moving up from the 125s and the 250s. So that, light clutch, smooth shifting, like you just don't think about anything.
That's right. The light clutch makes it really easy. If you're stuck in traffic with using this as a commuter, you won't get tired hands. This is a very easy clutch to use. Everything was really smooth on this bike.
The riding position, how did you find it when you were at speed in terms of wind protection, the mirrors, just the overall comfort?
Well, being straight up, obviously, it's a very comfortable position for your body, ergonomically well designed. And the wind protection was more than enough, I found, for what you were, whether at top speed or low speed. There was ample room in the cockpit area, was really well done. There was no buffeting at all. The comfort level of just having your arms at rest on the handlebars and not being at all encumbered by any kind of tank issue. Yeah, exactly. It was just comfortable.
Handling, how did you find the handling of the bike?
I love the handling of this bike. The low center of gravity on this one was by far one of the best I've tried, and I've tried a few of them that had a lower center of gravity, the tanks under the seats, and this one was the easiest one for me to handle. It was so nimble.
Did you find the gauges were easy to use, the switch gear, all the stuff for your thumbs and fingers? Was everything good for you there?
Everything right in its proper place, absolutely. Again, ergonomically designed well for the rider. This was focused on a rider perspective.
Fit and finish, they've tried to make this bike as affordable as possible to get as many people into the sport as possible.
That's right.
What did you think about the fit and finish?
I loved it. It's really nice looking bike. The colors are nice. Even this has a carbon fiber look to it to give it a little more edge. You know, I really enjoyed what they've done with it.
Who would this bike appeal to then?
I think definitely anyone moving up from the 125 and the 250s would definitely enjoy this bike. It's got everything you need to just move up a little bit. The bigger tank will give you access to longer rides, and it's just a whole lot of fun.
And comfortable.
Definitely comfortable.
So it's not just a commuter, you can do some distance.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep.
Perfect. Hang in there, there's plenty more experience still in the tank. Next, Norm and I ride out to Custer, South Dakota, while world-famous airbrush artist David Arrigo does his thing on a couple of saddlebags. So stay with us. Portions of Motorcycle Experience are brought to you in part by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Triumph Motorcycles. Closed captioning of this program is brought to you by Honda Canada. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now to catch up with artist David Arrigo as he continues to work on our special anniversary edition F6B. But before we do that, let's continue on with this season's ultimate ride as Norm and I tackle the Needles Parkway on our way down to Custer. For this year's two-wheeled getaway, Norm Wells and myself decided it was time to do the whole South Dakota scene. You know, Sturgis, the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, a destination busting out in late 19th century American history. For this trip, we picked up a couple of bimmers in the tiny town of Sturgis and made the outlaw town of Deadwood our base of operation for 4 nights. On day 1, we rode south on Highway 385 for an hour to see Mount Rushmore. But upon arrival, we were dismayed to find the park gates locked tight and some nasty forestry staffers telling us to keep it moving out on the highway out front due to a government shutdown. Forced to grab a quick snap by the side of the road, we decided to move on to Plan B. And as a result, we ended up exploring some amazing roads, namely the Needles Highway. Well, Norm, it's early afternoon in Custer City, and I guess if we were to reflect on the morning, we had the disappointment of Mount Rushmore, but boy, oh boy, Custer State Park and the Needles. Mr. Needles, you make good roads. Holy smokes, that was a great road.
That was cool, and go back to what you said yesterday, is it going to be twisty and scenic? And I said, no, I think it's going to be a bit of both, and that was definitely by far just as twisty as going down a Deals Gap. I mean, you know, there was the ride in with those amazing switchbacks climbing up the mountain, and then all the really tight, hilly up and down, and much tighter than what we saw so far. Very cool, very cool.
Yeah, I would say the 87 early on, heading into Needles, was just as good as maybe the Tail of the Dragon.
Yeah,
it was
very similar.
Very tight, very twisty, and certainly right up there as one of the best roads I've ever ridden. So that was a great surprise. And like you said, very scenic. Man, some great photos.
Well, coming through those tunnels, they just hacked out of the mountains. And then coming from one side where it was forested and the other side was all rock and really ancient looking. It was cool. I mean, it's just a very cool road, motorcycle road for sure.
And I would have to say I've been really pleasantly surprised at just how much forest there is here. I was expecting something a little more sort of like the Grand Canyon and Sedona kind of feel, but very rocky, but it's not like that at all.
Well, I think that's what we're seeing yesterday afternoon and today, and maybe a little bit tomorrow, but definitely when we get to the Badlands, you're going to feel like you're on the moon.
Right. So what's the game plan for this afternoon then? We're going to grab a bite to eat here.
Yeah, and then we'll head up to Crazy Horse Memorial, because again, that's a private one, so we'll definitely get into that one. And then from there, we'll head back up 385, back through Hill City, and then maybe cut over to a couple of those little eastern roads that we see here. They're not really numbered, but you see they're black and that they go north, so that's all we're looking for. Perfect.
So, in summary, Mount Rushmore, Schmushmore, who needs it? The roads here are awesome. We're going to sample a few more. It's been a great ride so far, man.
Let's eat.
Be sure to tune in next week to see how our ultimate ride plays out. I mean, we're not going to let some U.S. government shutdown ruin our trip, right? Anyway, it's time now to catch up with David Arrigo and our special edition Honda F6B paint job. To mark our 25th anniversary, a couple of months ago, we approached world-renowned artist David Arrigo and asked him to create a very special coast-to-coast Honda Goldwing F6B. David started the project in his studio north of Toronto with the plan to paint the rest of the wing on site in our Motorcycle Experience booth during the Toronto Motorcycle Show. David's work was a feature attraction at the show, and here's how he made out after his first day of painting in front of a live audience.
Here we are. It's end of the first day. I think it was a pretty productive day myself. Unfortunately, we lost an hour during the fire alarm there, but outside of that, I'm very pleased with the way everything shaped up. Not yet finished the second saddle bag, but we're well on our way. We'll be finishing it up tomorrow, where I bring in some other pieces as well to complete. The piece that I'm presently just finishing off for the evening is the East Coast version for the bike, and basically representing East Coast, Halifax, Newfoundland, with the lighthouse, the bike coming around the corner, and of course the seabird coming across the shadows with the raging waves, and it is making me feel colder and colder when I look at it every time. But yeah, again, I'm very pleased. We're going into a lot more detail than initially we thought we were going to do, and I believe it's just adding to that much more of a great piece. After researching a number of images from the East Coast rides, there was just so much continuity with the twisting roads, the hillsides, of course the ocean, and I'm just a huge fan of lighthouses as well. It just adds that ambiance to the piece. So it's not any one particular scene, it's sort of a collage of the East Coast. I love it, some of the comments, they're saying that they can't believe that this is a painting in progress. A lot of them believe it's a photograph, and I have to actually show them the paint in order for them to understand that it is really paint. I think they just really enjoy the traditional feel of it. Every day that you walk around, all you see are banners. It's all computer generated. Where this is hand-eye, true hand-eye coordination. There is nothing technical about it except my airbrush. So tomorrow, I'm really excited about getting back to this piece here. I know by the time I hit the sack tonight, my mind will be spinning, and there'll be a few more additions and details to this piece, which is always nice just to take a step back and then come back and complete it. As I mentioned, the chances of me going back to the other pieces and doing little touch-ups, that usually happens on these type of events. As well, I will be bringing in the trunk piece where the Honda Civic will be on, along with a family planting a tree. Sounds strange? Wait until you see it.
Now keep the rubber side down because there's still plenty more experience around the bend. Next, we look in on Project Lightning Bolt and spritz up our ride with Clinton Smout. Stay with us. Welcome back to Brooklyn Cycle Racing in Pickering, Ontario. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now to catch up with our in-house riding instructor, Clinton Smout. But before we do that, let's just pop over to Rob Egan's workshop area and see how Project Lightning Bolt is coming along. So Rob, as Project Lightning Bolt continues its progress, we are literally lightening this bike, right?
That's true.
And one of the things you didn't like was you wanted to get rid of that stock front fork because it's heavy, and you wanted to replace it with an R1 fork. How is that going?
Well, so far so good. It wasn't quite as easy as we thought, because we thought we were going to get away with the stems were going to be the right size, but they were about 6/1000ths of an inch out. So we had to build up that steering stem and bolt it all up, and it bolted up nice. Everything's perfect, but it's still the issue, it's short. So we have to make it longer.
Because the R1 fork itself is about 5 inches shorter in length than
we
the stalker,
needed to make our bike sit the way we were wanting to have it sit. So
right. So how do you add 5 inches to a R1 fork?
You just whip down to Home Depot and grab one of these. But actually they were out of stock, really out of stock. So this is where it started with a, we had to take all the measurements of the stock piece, duplicate it 5 inches longer, and still have it fully functional, which we were able to do.
Right. So when we last saw you, you were talking about the stalker. You said you were going to sweat these off, right? Sweat that off.
They just get heated up a bit and unscrew and
now you've got to fill this gap.
Exactly.
You've got like a 5-inch gap. So show us how this works now.
Well, we started out with this, and after about...
That is what,
That's
aluminum?
a solid chunk of aluminum, And after about 30 hours work and drawings and so on, we come up with this little piece here, which just goes right back into the stock position, the same way that the fork tube came out. The fork tube goes in there.
Wow, it's all threaded inside and outside?
Inside, outside, and it's once it's all snugged up together, it's 5 inches longer. Which
Very nice.
runs us into another little problem, was the
internals.
There's all these little pieces inside that have to work as well. So this is the stock dampening rod and rebound assembly.
So that just sits right down inside the tube here, right?
That screws down inside and has to mount on the bottom here to keep the front end from falling off when you do a wheelie. So that has to be 5 inches longer. So we had to make extensions that will actually screw onto the end of the dampening rod. They slide down inside of our new tubes and just mount in the exact same position they were with stock.
Wow, so this is not something you can tackle in the backyard.
It's a little rough. You'd have to have a big file set to do that for sure. So.
Well, what I really like about this, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, is this is not just going to look the part. This is actually going to be all functional.
That's the whole thing, is we want to make it work. So this is actually, it will work. Everything will work the way it's supposed to.
Very nice.
Not just looks.
Cool. Well, everything with Project Lightning Bolt appears to be going smoothly. But Rob only has a month to get this bike finished in time for the Motorcycle Consumer Show circuit. In the meantime, let's catch up with our old friend Clinton Smout, Chief Instructor with the SMART programs, one of the best off-road riding academies in Canada. Today, he's giving us a lesson in cleanliness. Clinton, this week on Shifting Gears, you want to talk about washing your bike. And I mean, this is all about staying safe. Since when is washing your bike going to keep you safe out on the road?
Well, part of it's I'm a clean freak and I love seeing a bike look shiny and nice, but I think you should use a garden hose, not the coin-operated power washer because it's too powerful.
Yeah.
But with a garden hose and you've got a mitt and some nice soap, your hands on to nuts and bolts and parts that might have come loose.
Right.
This is a brand new bike, so we know nothing's wrong. But over time, stuff vibrates loose, it wears, it tears.
Certainly.
And close inspection, hands-on, is the way to find those issues.
Right. So we're going to wash our bike every week regardless, put our hands on and check the bike for nuts and bolts and things and hoses and things that may have come loose, right?
Exactly.
You're holding a can of chain lube. Are you also going to suggest that we lubricate the chain when we're in that washing mode?
Well, maybe before or after, but we think a good way to do your chain is ride the bike first. Warm up the chain links because the metal expands. Then if you have a centered stand, you slowly rotate it with the engine off. I know people have ruined piano careers by sticking their fingers in chain and sprockets.
Yes.
And then hose it on from a few inches away and it sinks down into the chain.
Right.
Then let it sit for 20 minutes or so. If you have a rag, just hold it carefully and wipe off excess, again without the engine running.
Right.
Anything comes off on that rag, Dave, was going to serve no lubricating purpose.
Right.
I think all it was going to do is get all over your tire, all over your pant leg, and all over those gorgeous rims.
Well, we're talking about keeping the bike clean. One of the biggest pain in the butt is getting that stuff off your rim, you know, the excess that you just mentioned wiping off. Do you have any tips on how to get that stuff off?
Yeah, by engineered use, it's designed to stick, so it doesn't wipe off with a rag.
Right.
So what we do is some kind of a solvent. I use WD-40, Don't spray it near the back wheel, because if that gets into your brake pads, you're going to have less braking performance. So spray it onto a rag, the WD, and then just wipe it right off.
Right.
It comes off bright and shiny, and it leaves a film that makes it easier to get the chain lube off the next time.
Perfect. That is some really great advice. Remember, keep your bike clean, check it out, and don't forget to lubricate the chain once in a while.
Very important.
Stuff. Great. Okay then, now that we've got you all spruced up and ready to hit the road, stay tuned because next, Chief Riding Instructor Jen Martin has some great advice on trip planning. After all, you can only cruise down Main Street so many times. Portions of Motorcycle Experience are brought to you in part by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Triumph Motorcycles. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and now that we've got you all washed and primed and ready to go for a ride, we'll wrap up our show by passing along some great advice on how to plan a two-wheeled trip. Take it away, Jennifer. So this week on Hitting the Road, Jen, we're going to talk about planning for a trip and best practices when you're actually on a road trip. So you were saying one of the first things you do is you get out a map and you start planning where you're going and where you may actually stop along the way to rest and hydrate.
Right.
Right? So pre-planning?
Pre-plan is a good idea. I mean, obviously we have to stop and gas up, so that forces us for those rest breaks and things like that. So that's a good thing. Definitely, you want to take that opportunity to stay hydrated. So my handy duty
the water bottle has raised its ugly head again.
The water bottle,
the granola bar,
and my snacks. Absolutely, yeah.
Power bars, things like that. So it's important to make a lot of stops, stay hydrated.
Yep.
I guess it's also important to know how to recognize when it is time to stop. Like when you start getting a little, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you start getting that woozy feeling, or you're maybe not concentrating as hard as you could. I always talk about the first meal of the day, how important it is when you're going for a long ride. Motorcycling is a sport, how to fuel up properly for a long day in the saddle. In other words, maybe coffee and eggs aren't the best breakfast. A little granola, maybe some porridge.
Absolutely, for energy. You don't want to be too weighed down and already, be so full that you don't want to ride.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I see you've pulled out the handy dandy tank bag.
Yeah, my friend.
This is something that's sort of your key to success on a long trip. Obviously, you can see your map on the top piece, but is that where you keep a lot of your grab and go stuff, your cell phone, etc.?
Yes, absolutely, in there. And as you can see, this is a perfect one where you can keep the map right there clearly displaying, and you can switch it around and stuff like that for sure.
Right. So planning to hit the road, make sure you have a plan.
Yes.
And make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you stay rested. Don't wait till the end of the day when you sort of fall off your motorcycle.
That's right, fresh.
Awesome. Some great advice.
Good.
Thanks, Jen. Well, that's it for this week's program, folks. We're all out of time, but if you're looking for some more experience, be sure to go online right now, www.motorcycleexperience.ca for the after show. And then till next week, keep your feet on the pegs and your right hand cranked. Bye for now. Closed captioning of this program was brought to you by Honda Canada.
Hi there, Nathan Naslund here with Dealey Harley-Davidson Canada. Very proud to be part of Motorcycle Experience 25th anniversary. I've been watching Dave's show since its inception, so amazing stuff. Congratulations, Dave, on 25 years. That's quite a feat. Awesome. Keep the right hand cranked.